you need to prepare. All right. My name is the Alaska Prepper because I advocate preparedness. And this is why you need to prepare. Number one, we all know the government is not going to take care of us. Okay, that's first and foremost, right? Number two, if you have a family, do you want to be facing your family one day and telling them that you don't know where you're going to get the next meal? Right?
Right.
And number three, the more people that are prepared, the better that it is for you and me. Picture if you live in an apartment building with 40 units, all right? And you are the only one with a generator. And the lights went out for a month. And everyone knew that you had a generator. How many electrical cords do you think would be coming out of your apartment?
Bastante.
Right? Now let's turn that around. Let's say that you live in an apartment building with 40 units and everyone had a generator during a power outage. Instead of having to worry about where you're going to get electricity, you already have it. And then you can take your energy and put it to other things, like maybe pull security. Maybe have a security watch around your building to make sure you're safe. Instead of having to worry where you're going to plug in your electrical cord in, you already have that covered.
Right.
All right. So you can expend your energies in things that really matter, that can help your community instead of just yourself. All right. So do the same thing with everything. Everything that you need in order to maintain the standard of living that you live now, you should be stocking up on all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if they ever become unavailable, you don't have to alter your standard of living. And more importantly, you don't have to give up your sovereignty to someone else because they have something that you need and you really need it badly.
Yeah. Surrendering sovereignty.
That's one of the solutions that I can come with. That's my solution. That's the niche that I occupy on YouTube, is that we need to be prepared for anything. It's not prepared for a tornado. It's not prepared for a hurricane or an earthquake. It's for anything. And everyone in the world, no matter where you live, no matter who you call God, who you love, what sex you are, what gender you are, guess what? Everyone needs to eat. Everyone needs to drink. Everyone needs shelter. Everyone needs warmth. So prep those things that will keep you alive and that will allow you to sustain a standard of living that you live now.
But they're so worried. They're so worried in England that in England right now they're studying 100 genders now. That's what they're worried about. It's like
I'm all for it. You want to call yourself peanut butter? Call yourself peanut butter. Just get some rice and beans so you don't have to ask me for mine.
Tell us about intrinsic money, real money. Tell us. Unpack it.
Real money can be anything that has value onto itself. So real money can be a can of corn.
Right.
That's money. You can use that as money. Why? Because the can of corn, the value in that can of corn is within itself.
Right.
It's not a promissory note. You know, when you go to the supermarket to get a can of corn, you don't get a slip of paper that says you can have a can of corn. You go buy a can of corn, right?
Right.
Right, because the calories are in that can of corn.
Right.
So let me see what I got here.
Are you drinking Pepsi still?
Yeah, I only sip on it.
Okay.
So check this out. This is silver.
Mm-hmm.
And this is real money. What makes this real money? The thing that makes this real money is that someone, I'm going to go ahead and take you through the stages of silver real quick. I'll try to make it
That's
quick.
okay. Don't worry. Take your time.
In order to get 1 ounce of silver right here, like this coin, someone has to go and find a location that can be mined because it's got silver in it, right? Then they have to apply for permits. It takes about 10 years to get a silver mine running. All right, from the time that you find the land to the time that you can start digging, it takes about 10 years, right? You have to pay for the property. You have to pay for all of the fees, right? All this stuff, right? So let's say 10 years passes by, you did all that stuff. Now you can start mining silver. Now you have to go out there and mine about 2 tons of ore. Okay, so you have to go get all the equipment. You have to get the manpower. You have to put up the capital in order to sustain your operation until it becomes profitable. You have to get all of the energy that it takes in order to go ahead and mine 2 tons of ore. You mine that 2 ton of ore, they put it on a truck, they bring it to a crusher. That crusher crushes it into dust. Then they take that dust and they put it in a pool where they turn it into a slurry by adding water to it. After they do that, they add chemicals to it to separate the silver from everything.
Right.
After that, they take the silver out of it, they let it dry. Then they put it in a foundry, they melt it into big bars that are about 85 to 90% pure silver. Then they take that silver, they transport it to a refinery where they remelt it again and then purify it into like 999 silver, which is 99.9% pure silver. Mm-hmm. Then they take those bars and they send it somewhere where they can turn it into blanks, which is a coin with no design on it. Mm-hmm. Then they take those blanks and then they send it to a mint that puts their design on it. Then the mint takes it and sells it to the retailer. And then the retailer sells it to you. Now, all of that for 1 ounce of silver. See how much value went into this? You see how much work and value went into this?
Yeah.
So this silver coin, the value in this silver coin, it's within itself. It's already been performed.
Right.
All of the work that it took to get it is already within itself. So that's the value. That's real money. And that's why I said that a can of corn can be real money. It's real money because a farmer had to plant the corn. Then they had to harvest the corn. Then they had to send it to a wholesaler. Then the wholesaler sent it to a factory. They put it in cans. They send it to the supermarket. Then you bought it. Same thing as this.
Right.
It's real money.
And
right? It's real money that has the value in it.
That's right. We say here on the channel, it's minted, not printed. Golden.
That's right.
It's minted. You could anyone could print. Printer goes burr, but when you mint, it's a lot of work. A lot of work goes into it, like you said, and it's the same. It's pretty much the same breakdown for gold too.
Let me just go ahead and give someone some information that they can verify.
Yeah.
That way they'll know that one of the reasons I like silver, and I do like gold also, is because what they do is the job of money, the job of this is to preserve its purchasing power.
Right.
That's silver's job. Silver and gold's job is to preserve your purchasing power. So in the United States, the quarters that they used to mint prior to 1965.
That's right.
So from 1932 to 1964, every quarter and every dime and every half dollar and dollar coin was composed of 90% silver. Mm-hmm. Well, in 1964, a silver quarter would buy you 1 gallon of gasoline in the United States. Right? And then in the United States in 1964, the average that you had to pay for a gallon of gasoline was anywhere between 21 cents to 30 cents. So roughly around 25-cent average. Today, if you have a 90% silver coin and you take it to a coin shop and sell it, you're going to get $4.23. Do you think $4.23 can buy you a gallon of gasoline?
Yes. How much is a gallon?
It can.
Yeah, $3.75, right?
Well, we're still in the twos here.
Oh,
it's about $2.69 where we're at.
Okay.
So the point is that silver quarter, because it's got silver in it, is able to buy me today the exact same thing that it was able to buy me 70 years ago.
Buying power.
So that it kept this purchasing power. That's what this is for. This is not for investing. I don't advocate people investing in silver. This is insurance. Mm-hmm. This is purely insurance and savings. That's all I do with this. Mm-hmm. It's my insurance against the dollar, against the government, and it is the vehicle by which I use to save my wealth so that it won't be eaten up by inflation.
Yes. And it's a good hedge against inflation. I do own silver too, and gold myself, and collector bars and all kinds of blank stuff. I got quite a bit still in that shrink wrap. I went crazy on silver in 2012. I don't know why, but I went on a silver spree in 2012, and I haven't sold any of it. I still have a bunch of it, tons of it, and I'm like, whatever. I'm just gonna hand it down to my kids if they need it, and if there's, but they were really banking on silver to go up a bit. Like, I remember back in 2012, 2013, they were really pushing, like, get your silver. 100 ounces of silver could buy you a house in 10 years. And because you know what it is when you back the currency, the existing currency that's out there in circulation, if you were to back it behind an ounce of gold, it's like $700,000. If you're...
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of...
It's so much money behind 1 ounce because in 1971, Richard Milhouse Nixon took you guys off the gold standard, and then you started to see wages not keeping up with the cost of goods, and right. you had European countries at the window knocking on America's window. Here's my Washington's. Here's my American money. Give me my gold, right? And that started to become a problem. And this is just my opinion, and I would like to hear what you think.
Well, it's true.
The reason why America went off the gold standard in 1971, this is my opinion, I don't think it's right though, is so they could go to war. You cannot go to war like a Vietnam and Korean conflict and all that crap that happened. It's too expensive to go to war with a gold-backed currency because it's just too expensive. And they have to back the currency on some sort of economic standard instead of gold. That's just what I think.
Well, I mean, the reason why they went off what happened is this: we got into the Vietnam War, right?
Right.
And we were still in the gold. It was called Bretton Woods. We were still in the Bretton Woods stand, right? Which is a 40% backing of the dollar by gold. We went to the Vietnam War and we were still under that standard. So what happened is that we printed so much more fiat currency at that time than what we can back it up with the gold that we had available in our vaults, that France came knocking at our door and said, right. Listen, it seems to me like you're printing way more money than what you can cash out into gold. So please give me my gold. And then every other country continued to do that. At that time, we had 20,000 tons of gold, roughly, right? By the time that Nixon said, no more, we're not going to convert dollars into gold anymore, we were down to 8,354 tons. All right, which is what they say we still have, which I don't know if we have that or not. I doubt it, but you never know. All right, so once he took us off the gold standard, you're 100% right. It gave the Federal Reserve and the government complete control over our currency without anyone being able to question it or challenge it. Now they can print all the money they want without telling us. I mean, I did a video a while back where I showed that in 2010, Donald Rumsfeld came out and said, yeah, we cannot account for $2.3 trillion. Okay? And,
yeah, I remember that. That was the day before the 9/11 and the Pentagon crash, and it hit the server room.
September 10, 2001. Okay?
Yeah.
The next day, what happens? All of the paperwork that was needed in order to prove where that money was, for some reason, it got blown up by whatever hit the Pentagon. Okay?
I like how you say that. Whatever hit the Pentagon.
And then in 2016, but then everyone forgot about it. Nobody questioned that $2.3 trillion anymore. Mm-hmm. Then in 2016, a professor from the University of Michigan found out that they had 21 trillion additional dollars unaccounted for. 21 trillion, right? Mm-hmm. Now, in 2019, add another 35 trillion that they can't account for. So in the past 20 years alone, just in the past 20 years, our government has over $60 trillion that they cannot account for. So that tells me that they're printing money like crazy behind the scenes without us knowing about it.
Now, here's
the money that we think is there now, there's a lot more out there than what we think there is.
Can you tell me a story about what will happen to you if you can't account for, let's say, $10,000 of your money when you do your taxes? What would the IRS do to you?
They will get their, in the United States, there's a law that was passed under the Obama administration that if you owe the IRS, I believe it's $10,000 or more. Mm-hmm. Don't quote me on the nominal amount, but I believe it's $10,000 or more. You cannot leave the country.
Oh, snap. You know why? Let me tell you a little story. This is happening with student loans. If you own X amount in student loans, you can't leave the country. You can't. I heard of some guy going for some job down in Houston from Canada. They wouldn't let him leave because he had an exuberant amount of student loans. So it's almost like, oh my God, it's like they're federalizing everything so they can indebt you and then they control you.
Check this out, Mike. Remember we were talking about what all of those countries were doing, like China to other countries?
Yeah.
Economic hitman?
Yeah.
I did a video not too long ago, and the title was, "The American Citizenry Has Been Hit by an Economic Hitman." Because they've done the same thing to the citizens of the United States that they've been doing to other countries for decades. We've all been hit by an economic hitman. Our lives no longer belong to us.
Whoa, this is going real deep. You should have been on last week's Mike in the Night is Digital Soul. We sold our digital souls. And that's what we were talking about last week. But wow, we're getting deep here tonight on Mike in the Night.
We will find ourselves in destitute. And one thing about humanity is that normally we wait until we've been pushed to a corner before we decide to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually when we feel ourselves as a nation that we have been pushed into a corner, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. It doesn't matter what political ideology you may have. That is when the nation will come together as one and say, we're not taking this anymore. And then something will happen to where maybe we'll have a new governance system different than the one that we have now. Hopefully going back to what the founding fathers, wanted for this country, which is a constitutional republic. But unfortunately, 90% of the people that graduate from high school don't know what a constitutional republic is.
I know.
So it's going to be a hard fight.
When I lived in Miami, I would ask people randomly, "Hi, can you tell me a country that borders Mexico?" And they're like, Mexico. Or name a country that borders Canada. And the girl looks at me, Canada. Name a country that borders Spain. Spain. It's so like, wow. Where is it on the map? They have no idea. What the heck is going on with this mainstream media? It's really, if the media goes, everything will be just normal. If the media could actually report on things, the media is supposed to be the watchdog for us. The media is supposed to be watching our politicians. The media is supposed to be reporting on things that actually matter. What the hell happened to our media in the last, Canada, America, all over the world in the last 10, 20 years?
That's easy to answer. About 95% of the media outlets in the United States are owned by 6 companies. So there are 6 CEOs that decide what news we're fed. And most people are not, I don't want to say wise enough, but most people believe what they hear, and for good reason. I don't blame the average person that's ignorant, because ignorance can be self-inflicted or it can be inflicted upon you, okay? I don't blame the average person. And the reason I don't blame the average person for their ignorance is because the average person is trying to hold on to that first rung of the ladder. The ladder of success?
Mm-hmm. That
first rung of the ladder, I like to call biological, because that first rung of the ladder is what gets you what you need to live. You're going out to a job every day. It makes you enough money to keep a roof over your head and your family's head. It makes you enough money to pay for maybe a health insurance and put food on the table. That's it. That's the first rung of the ladder. That second rung of the ladder, if you're lucky enough, hey, maybe you'll get a middle-class job where you're making $50,000, $70,000 a year, and you might even be able to send one of your kids to college, all right? But what happens is that most people are on that first rung of the ladder. They're so busy just trying to survive that they can't use their brains to actually research what they're hearing. So they decide to believe what they're being told because they're just trying to survive. These guys are going out there and working 16, 18 hours a day. The last thing they want to do when they come home is sit on the computer and research whether everything that they're being told by CNN is true. So they are being kept ignorant as to what's going on by being fed the information or really propaganda that the establishment wants them to hear in order to advance their own agenda. That's what's going on. We don't have a media. We don't have a media. We have an activist group saying that they're the media. So we have no media. Media, you know where media lives? True media lives on YouTube. True media lives on Twitter if they don't get canceled.
Right.
That's where the true media lives. If you want to find out the truth, get on the internet and get away from mainstream media because you're not going to find the truth there.
How did it make you feel? I know you don't talk politics, but you're here on Mike in the Night. Hold on.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I have no problem talking about it. First of all, anyone out there that thinks that their vote counts, they need to take another look at themselves and really ask themselves, do your vote count?
Right.
Your vote doesn't count. I don't care what country you're in. Your vote does not count. You know, that was already planned, the way that it was going to happen. As far as I'm concerned, at least here in the United States, there's no such thing as a two-party system. Mm-hmm. It is a one-party political system. They just want you to think that there's two parties. That way the country can stay divided. Because they know that a country that's not divided is a lot more power than what they can handle, than what they can suppress. All right? And this is why I say that we have a one-party system. It's just the illusion of choice. The reason they say it's two parties is to give us the illusion of choice, like we have choice, and also to keep us divided. The reason I say it's a one-party system is because I just look back in my lifetime, all right? I'm almost 5 decades old. So I look back to my lifetime, right? And I looked at all the presidents. And there were Democrats, there were Republicans, Democrats, Republicans, Democrats, Republicans. What's gotten better? Nothing.
Nada.
Everything has gotten incrementally worse. You know, just a little bit at a time. That way we can handle this small crisis. It got worse. They took away some of our liberties, you know, for this or that. And then 4, 5, or 6 years later, something else happens. You know, they took away some more of our liberties a little. It's only gotten worse. And let me give you a couple of stats. I believe it was in 1968 or 67 that Lyndon B. Johnson came up with the war on poverty. Ever since he came up with the war on poverty, poverty has more than doubled in the United States.
Oh, for sure.
Then Nixon came up with what? The war on drugs.
Yeah, that went right into the Reagan administration.
And guess what? The United States of America is the most medicated country in the world.
It's the most drug-consuming country on the planet.
Exactly. We're the most medicated country in the world. So, you know, there goes the war on drugs. Look at what happened after 9/11. The Patriot
Act.
Have we caught any bad people at the airport since then? No. But guess what? Now grandma gets to get patted down every time she wants to bring in a jar of applesauce because that's all she can eat on the plane is applesauce. Mm-hmm. You know, your kids get to get patted down by a stranger. So what's gotten any better? Nothing has gotten any better. Our debt hasn't gotten any better. You know, we have more people unemployed today, real unemployment, not the fake numbers that they give us. We have more people unemployed today than what we've ever had because of all of these policies that they instituted because of this health crisis, right? So that's why I say it's a one-party system. And the one party is the government. Mm-hmm. They make you think that there's a choice for you to make so that they can divide you and that they can keep doing what they've been doing for the last 100 years, which is putting someone different every 4 or 8 years so it can pacify the people and make them think that they do have a choice and that their vote does count. Their votes don't count. The Federal Reserve is the government. Even though the Federal Reserve is a privately owned institution, in my opinion, the Federal Reserve and the banks own our government. There's not one politician in there that you can't tell me hasn't been paid off.
You know, one of the biggest heroes from your country that I like the most, that I think is the greatest hero, it's not O.J. Simpson, it's Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson fought his entire administration to destroy the Federal Reserve. And when when Old Hickory was on his deathbed, he said, "I freed the American people from the 10-headed snake called the Federal Bank." National Geographic mentioned that if we were to go out of power in the first month, they said like 17% of people would just die, like right off the bat, in the first month alone without power.
They had a congressional hearing about EMPs here I forgot when it was. It was in the early 2000s. And they came up with the figure that if we lost electricity, nationwide and or worldwide, that within the first year, 90% of the population would cease to exist.
That's how we enslaved ourselves to power so badly.
Yeah.
We've enslaved ourselves so bad.
I mean, think about what percentage of the population are on prescription medications that they need in order to live.
Ooh.
Those will be the first people to go.
Insulin.
Yeah, they'll be the first people to go. And then think about all the people on antipsychotic medications once they can't have them anymore.
Oh.
They'll start doing crazy things, right?
Oh.
So just the medication alone is going to get rid of a good percentage. And then those people that make it after a month, that make it about a month in, are going to be pretty hardy people, and they're going to be split up into two groups.
Huh.
They're going to be split into self-reliant, communities that actually prepared, and they're going to be split up into gangs. And then, after the first month, maybe two, the gangs will end up getting filtered out.
Yeah.
Because being a marauder doesn't pay for very long. They might win one or two home invasions, but eventually they get taken out. So yeah, they estimated that about 90% of the population would die within 1 year. But you know what? I don't live for that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just prepare for anything, and I think that it's very smart to be prepared for at least 1 year, if not more.
Yeah.
At least 1 year. Make sure you buy a lot of gardening seeds.
What do you have for emergency vehicles? Do you have a side-by-side there?
Well, I'm working on a small project that I haven't shown to the public yet, but I'm working on what I'm going to call the Alaska Prepper Homestead / Prepper truck. And it's going to be pretty sweet.
It's like a bug-out truck?
It's not finished. Yeah, it's not done yet.
But it's like for bug-outs.
Well, it's going to be for anything.
Okay.
It's going to be really cool, man. When I have everything done on it and I'm ready to show it, I'm going to do a video showing everything, and it's going to be really cool. Really, really cool. So
yeah,
that's coming up. Probably be another month and a half or two before it's done.
All right, dude. It's been really good talking to you, having you on the show, bringing your guiding light. We got I thank you. Like, I really appreciate you being here with us and taking the time out of your busy evening. And I'm so happy you got back to me in the email, and I was so happy you were on board to come on and talk to a lot of us here.
Anytime, man. I thank you very much for having me. Tell you the truth, I had a great time. I've been lucky enough to have had a really good time on every single, I don't like to call it interview, but I'll call it interview.
Mm-hmm.
Every interview I've been on so far, I've been lucky enough to have a really good time every time. And I had a great time this time as well. So I appreciate you inviting me. And, the thing that I like about doing this is that hopefully one or two people will watch this video that were not considering becoming prepared and maybe will. And that would be great. To me that is success.
Money in the bank.
So that's my hope. Yep, that's my hope. My hope is that whenever I do an interview or a video that, if one or two people can catch on and join the bandwagon and become prepared and help their family to prepare, to me that's success. So
wow,
it's a good thing. I'm doing it, and again, I appreciate you having me on, man. I had a blast.
Thank you so much, Alaskan Prepper. Guys, I'm going to give the link again after we get off. I'm going to give the link again, and I appreciate that. We're going to take in some more phone calls from people around the world, and we'll talk about some of the points of views you've discussed with us tonight. Anyways, okay, Mr. Alaskan Prepper. Guys, I'm going to plug his channel again. And it's an absolute pleasure. God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll talk, we'll chat, and we'll keep in touch. Okay, guy? Okay, guy?
All right, brother.
All right.
Good brother.
Gracias. Adios.